No, that's not what she told 911. But she didn't testify, I thought he was already gone. She's testifying, we were doing everything we can to save him. Interesting.
As I was walking over, I called to...
Let's talk about this for a minute. Emily Baker points out that it's interesting. And I want to point out that I think it's interesting as well, but I also suspect I know why she's doing this. If you watch my video from the Deception Detectives list of things to look at when you're evaluating a 911 call, there are questions that you sort of go by and see, you know, is the person being rude? Is the person being nice? Is the person creating a backstory, or are they telling you actively what's happening with the victim that they found? One of the questions is the person accepting that the person they found is dead, or is the person in denial? You know, you can have some 911 callers, they find someone with a knife in their chest and they're still, and the person probably looks clearly dead, but the caller is just bound and determined to save them, will continue to hope and pray something will change or that they can do something to help this person survive. And it's actually the better attitude to have, obviously, because it's really hard to know unless you're medically trained if somebody is in fact dead or not. You know, obviously you can check their heart rate and their breathing, but it's one of those things where when you're in shock and stuff, if you're not used to doing those things, it's always good to give the person CPR. Well, Jen didn't mention anything about CPR the last time, and I don't know if they have her on video doing CPR. This time it's a big part of it. Why? Because Brennan knows that she has to behave as if she's in shock and doesn't want to accept that John is dead. See, she wanted us to believe all that time that, you know, Karen was just hysterical, and Karen was like over the top because she must have known John was already dead. But that wasn't the case. If you think about it logically and you know the story, you know that Karen knew something horrible had happened and expected it to have happened because John did not come home, because he would never leave his niece in the house alone. And that is enough to me to understand why she was freaking out. We all know our loved ones, and we know when they're not home at a certain time or for a certain person, it's likely something horrible has happened. I mean, it's just one of those things, you know. But Jen didn't want to hear Karen and wanted to keep egging her on, her and Carrie, with, you know, the different moms in the neighborhood that John's with and stuff like that, which goes back to the fact that I told you guys, I think John O'Keefe has a bunch of women who are in love with him, who are groupies of his. And, you know, one of my listeners commented he has stage 5 Klingons. And yeah, he does. Even in death, he still has groupies, right? But the point being is that Jen knew he was dead already. That's why her reactions are so bizarre. That's why she didn't run into the house. It's why she has an excuse for everything. Like she was actually, no, I couldn't run into the house because I had to stay by John. Well, there were 2 people staying by John already. Why do you need to stay by him? When there's 2 people, you learn in CPR, when there's 2 people, one person you yell to go call 911. This is back in the days when people all didn't have a phone. But regardless, you go to get help, and the other person works on the CPR, and then you can switch. They had 3 people. They had more than enough people. And the natural response would have been for Jen McCabe to run into her sister's house. Oh my God, I would be worried. Are they okay? Why is John dead out here on the lawn? What happened? And they didn't answer. I just called them twice. There's all these lights out here. They're not waking up. Are they fucking dead? That's the natural reaction, if you ask me, not tiptoeing into the house. Her reactions are completely off. None of them make sense. And the reason she's changing the fact that she's like actively trying to help him and, you know, this and that, it's because it was a mistake the last trial when she's, you know, you can hear on the 911 call, she's already resigned to it. I think he's dead. Did you even go look at him yet? Why do you think he's dead? If you did not even go look at him yet, why do you think he's dead? That's what I want to know. So it's just a lot of bullshit. And that's what Emily D. Baker picked up on her channel. And she's the best. And if you don't follow her, you should check her out. Peace.